Greetings, my dear viewers. It is I, Drayhon, and welcome back to Dungeons & Dragons Character Concept Deep Dive, where we take a look at some very odd concepts for character builds that you've probably thought of before but didn't know quite how to build them. And today is one such concept: a combat speedrunner. Imagine this. You are on a battlefield with a large army before you and your party. The leader of this army is clear on the other side of the battlefield. For most of your party members, it'll take 4 or 5 turns, and that's if they don't have to deal with any minions. But for you, you could do it less than that. In fact, you could probably take out half this army yourself and still make it to the boss on turn 3. How do you do that? Well, I have the solution. Going to take a little finagling, but I think I've got it. So to start things off, we're going to be using the point-buy system for our stats. Strength at 11, Dexterity at 15, Constitution at 12, Intelligence at 10, Wisdom at 15, and Charisma at 8. We're letting our hands do the talking for this build, so not really a need for our Charisma. But we do at least need some battlefield prowess, so yes, we're going to need some intelligence. Not to mention, we're going to need our strength for jumping, when it becomes necessary, of course. Now for our race, we're actually going to start things off with a tabaxi. Now this might be surprising, but the tabaxi actually has feline agility, which lets us, when we move, double our movement speed. Now, unfortunately, we are not able to use this feature again until we take a turn without moving, but it's still a pretty good ability, giving us, at level 1, 60 foot of movement. That's pretty fast. So our ability score increases are of course going 1 point into 3 stats: strength, dexterity, and wisdom. We also get Cat Claws, which gives us a 1d6 plus 1 damage. So far, that's because it's going to be using our strength. So not too bad, we get a nice 4 points of damage going off. You can almost kill a kobold in 1 hit. But you also get a nice climbing speed and also dark vision of 60 feet. For your background, I would recommend the athlete background. And going off the theme of our builds lately, Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen actually allows us to get a feat at first level. Technically, the ones that you'll be getting are the Tough Feat or, I believe, Magic Initiate. But, going off the theme of those, it would stand to reason that you could get a feat such as Mobile. Of course, DM's discretion. I would ask your Dungeon Master before getting it. This will increase your movement speed by 10. Now, thanks to feline agility, that means you have 80 foot of movement. So not bad. Now for our class, and we're going to start things off with the Fighter. This is because we get the fighting style to weapon fighting. This allows us to basically attack twice instantly. With 2-weapon fighting, we are now able to add add our damage modifier, which would be dexterity in the case of using a rapier, to our damage rolls. So 1d8 plus 3 thanks to our dexterity. So a nice 7 damage on our attacks. On average, of course. Now you get a D10 hit die, you get proficiency in all armors and shields, simple and martial weapons, strength and constitution saving throws, and also 2 skills of your choice. I accidentally stacked up 2 perception checks because of the tabaxi race. That's my mistake. I also get the feature Second Wind, a very nice feature to have during those turns where you have to regenerate your feline agility. Moving on to 2nd level fighter, we get Action Surge. This allows us to take another action, which means another attack. So now we have 3 rapier attacks thanks to our 2 weapon fighting. Honestly, that's a pretty good thing, in my opinion. Now for 3rd level fighter. This time we're going with Psi Warrior Martial Archetype. This gives us access to psionic power, which means we have a protective field and psionic strike, allowing us to get a d6 increase on 1 of our damage rolls. So we have our very first attack dealing 10 damage on average, with our 2nd and 3rd attack being 7 damage. So, pretty good. 4th level fighter, of course, getting an ability score improvement. Go ahead and increase your wisdom by 2 points. And we also have the ability to change out our fighting style. Go ahead and change your fighting style to unarmed fighting. While this is definitely not a good idea at this moment, it is going to help us in the future of this build, giving our unarmed strikes a d8 when we're not holding any other weapons. Any weapons at all. Instead of the cat claws' d6. So, not bad. But why are we increasing our wisdom? We'll find out here in a moment. We get level 5 fighter with extra attack, and now for the answer. Monk multi-class. This lets us use our martial arts to gain 2 more attacks. Flurry of blows. We get 2 unarmed strikes as a bonus action when we attack with an unarmed strike or a monk weapon. More often than not, it's going to be with our unarmed strikes. And we also get some extra hit points and the unarmored defense feature. Not that important, we're more focused on martial arts. So now our very first attack, our first punch. We have a 1d8 plus 1d8 plus 3, thanks to our Psi strike. And then we have our bonus action, 2 more punches with an action surge punch on top of that. Plus, of course, our extra attack feature. Meaning we could take 2 attacks. So, 2 attacks, 2 attacks. And then a bonus action, which I believe is currently 1 attack, which means that Monk level 2 gets our actual key Flurry of Blows with multi-punches as a bonus action. And we also get unarmored movement, increasing our movement speed by 10. So before we use feline agility, we are actually moving 50 feet. Once we add our feline agility on top of that, we are moving at 100 feet. Pretty darn cool. But that's not all. Level 6 fighters get an ability score improvement. Go ahead and increase your dexterity by 2 more points, giving your dexterity a now +4 modifier. Quite impressive, those punches are. Level 3 monk. Now we're getting somewhere. Monastic tradition, way of the living weapon. We get Fist of Bone and Steel. This would now increase our unarmed strikes to a 1d8 if we did not already have the unarmed fighting style. We also have a martial discipline, Forged Heart. This allows us to increase our unarmed strikes by 2d6, if, of course, the target fails their save, which goes off of our key save DC, which is currently 8 plus 4 plus 2. Level 4 Monk gets Slow Fall, and I believe Quickened Healing, which I forgot to put on this slide. But we also get an ability score improvement. Go ahead and increase your dexterity by 2 points, making your modifier a +5 now. Level 7 Fighters now get Telekinetic Adept as part of their Psi Warrior martial archetype, which means you get Telekinetic Thrust and Psi-Powered Leap. As a bonus action, you can now gain a flying speed that is twice your walking speed. So now we have 200-foot flying speed. That's a fast flyer. But that only lasts until the end of your turn. Moving on to another multi-class, Ranger. Now, it'll become more clear why this is when we get more into this class, but this is the only other class we'll be multi-classing into. We get a new skill, Nature, and we also get Deft Explorer. Ooh, pardon me. This gives us the Canny feature, which gives us basically expertise in perception. And we also get Favored Foe, which increases our first attack by 1d4 currently. Level 2 Rangers get a fighting style. We're going to pick Archery, and that'll become clear later. We also get Spellcasting, which uses our Wisdom modifier, and we also get Spellcasting Focus. So not bad. Level 3 Ranger. We want Primal Awareness, or Primeval Awareness, and we want the Ranger Conclave Gloomstalker. Probably the go-to Ranger Conclave, if I'm perfectly honest, as it's very good. We get Gloomstalker Magic. Currently we're getting Disguise Self, and we also get Umbral Sight and Dread Ambusher. This gives us an additional attack on our first turn, allowing us to make an attack and adding 1d8 to that attack. We're going to use a longbow. Since we are using a ranged weapon, that means our archery fighting style is going to add 2 points to that damage roll. So not bad. Now we're going for Ranger level 4, and that means an ability score increase. Go ahead and increase your Wisdom by 2 points. Level 5 Ranger gets some more Gloomstalker magic. You get Rope Trick this time. Level 6 Ranger gets Deft Explorer Roving. This will increase your walking speed, which is very nice. And increase it even more if it's your first turn. Level 7 Rangers get Iron Mind. A pretty useful feature, but not entirely necessary. Especially not for this build. We want Ranger level 8, which will give us Land Stride and an ability score increase. However, we're actually going to go for a feat. We're going to go for the Alert feat. We can't be surprised, and we get to increase our initiative by 5 points, making it a lot easier for us to go first. And to finish this build off, we're going to go ahead and get Gloomstalker level 9. We get to the Gloomstalker magic Fear, but more importantly, we get access to the spells that the Ranger would get access to at 9th level. Now let's go ahead and do some calculations before we finish this build off by picking out said spells. And the reason why I want to explain what we're doing here is because these last two punches that we're getting are used as a bonus action. And so is this flying speed here. It's a bonus action. We only get one of those in a round. So what gives? Well, we actually have a lot of different things going against us here for a bonus action. We have our flying speed as seen in this leftmost box, which will increase our flying speed to 220 feet. If it's our first turn, 260 feet. Of course, that'll let us do less damage, because we're doing less attacks. The Flurry of Blows feature is also a bonus action. One of the spells you're able to gain access to as a ranger, Zephyr Strike, is also a bonus action, which does increase your speed, but it also increases your damage output on one of your attacks. So, not entirely bad, but we are missing out on a couple of attacks. But then we have a Chardalon Stride, one of the more important spells that a ranger can get access to, especially for this build. Not only does it increase our speed by 20 feet, but we also have the ability to deal 1d6 damage to any creature we get within 5 feet of. Which, in all honesty, is a pretty good deal. So what would a basic turn look like for our speedrunner, with these stipulations and restrictions in place? Well, turn 1, obviously we need to be activating a Chardalon Stride. This way, it will carry over into our next attacks, because that's what it does. It lasts for a whole minute. Of course, we won't be able to do any more punching, but we still have 170 feet to work with. And also, we get to deal an extra 1d6 to any creature we get within 5 feet of. Only once, so we can't say go to 4 different creatures and just keep on dealing 1d6 every time we get within 5 feet of them. No, we can't do that. That would be hilarious. That's not how the spell works. After we use our feline agility to get our 170 speed, we are going to have to make sure we're out of range of any attacks, and take our next turn to do 0 speed. That way we can get our feline agility for turn 3, which we are going to be using our psi-powered leap to gain a grand total of 320 foot of movement for flying. So if there are any flying enemies, we can start burning them with a Chardalon's 1d6 fire damage. But more importantly, we are able to affect more creatures since we are moving even faster. And if we finally get to the boss on turn number 5, then we are able to use all of these punches that we get from our attacks. And of course, dealing some damage with our longbow to any stranding minions that might try to stop us. Or, we first attack something, and then fire an arrow at the boss, then move up to him, and then start slapping him for a few 100 damage. Again, that is Chardalon Stride. A very good spell to be having with this type of build. And again, that feline agility is what's hurting us a little bit. You could technically use your turn to not move while you're being surrounded by a lot of enemies and start punching them. But that's not really the entire point, though it is still feasible. So now that we have created this character, what spells should they have? We are playing as a partial ranger, after all. Well, here are the spells that I think would work for this build. Cure Wounds, Ensnaring Strike, and Hail of Thorns for our first level spells. Cold On of Arrows and Healing Spirit for our second level spells. And of course we can't go wrong with Chardalon Stride at third level. Some very good spells for a very interesting combat speedrunner. What did you all think? Tell me in the comment section down below. And I'll see you all again next time. But for now, this has been Drayhon, and I am offline.